Thank you for your time. The questions I'm going to ask were formed by a group of King College Prep high school students who are interested in addressing and starting a dialogue about topics most important to our peers, neighborhood, community, Chicago, and etc. We are still in the process of gathering feedback/data related to fractured community, and your answers and opinions are very important parts of this process. At the end of the survey, please give us feedback on how to improve this process for future interviews and suggest questions that you would like us to ask our community. Okay, what is your name?
Sierra.
And what is your relationship to me?
I'm your mom.
No, she has not been interviewed for this project. Alright, first question. Where are you from?
I'm from Chicago, south side of Chicago.
Which neighborhood?
Technically from, I don't know.
Ashburn, Gresham.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not from there, but I live there.
Yeah. How long have you lived in Chicago?
All my life, so 30 plus years.
What role do you play in your community?
Currently, I play a small role. I like to help out my neighbors, and I like to educate young people.
What is your definition of community?
I would say a sense of belonging, like belonging with people, around people, basically like a family.
How have you been impacted by your community?
Positively or negatively?
Either way.
Positively, I've learned a lot. I've been put onto a lot of resources because of who I know in my community. And negatively, I guess a lot of things happen, so I have to change like what I do, like where I park my car or stuff like that.
How would your life be different if you lived in a different city or town?
I think it'll be the same. I think it'll be good. I'm not sure.
All right. If you could change anything about your community, what would it be and why?
If I could change something, I would change the stigma, like that everybody is bad, like everybody is like lazy or bad, like just out here with no good intentions. I would change that because that's not true. My community is filled with a lot of hardworking people, but if you look at them, you won't be able to tell.
How do you think your community is viewed by others and why?
It's kind of mixed. I'm gonna assume that it depends because if people hear about certain stuff like happening in certain neighborhoods or something, it's viewed as bad and stay away from there, when sometimes it's not like the whole truth of the matter.
If you think this view is wrong or unfair, is there a way to change how your community is viewed by others?
Yeah, I would say just like how like social media is hot and anything in the media is hot, I would just literally show my community in a positive light. I would like broadcast the good stuff that happens, the back to school drives, the feeding the homeless and stuff like that, because that sheds an actual light on not just the bad of my community, but the good that we do.
All cities have to deal with issues like violence. How does the issue of violence in Chicago compare to other major cities?
Say it again.
All cities have to deal with issues like violence. How does the issue of violence in Chicago compare to other major cities?
Um, I'm not sure. I just think that because it is a major city and it's so political that certain stuff is going to be in a certain stuff is going to be in the media to show tourists and people who are not from Chicago that, oh, you should stay away from Chicago because of whatever. But small cities, big cities, they still have some of the same problems.
All right. What are the top 3 issues/concerns that you would like to address and start a dialogue with your community, peers, neighborhood, or Chicago?
One would be somehow gather whatever resources or invest in the children in the community, like with more things to do that's like free of charge or don't cost a lot, in order to have like building programs. So like not necessarily like go to school for like the second time, but like building a program, focus on something like the kid is interested in. That would keep a lot of people like from just roaming the streets and getting in with the wrong crowds. I will also say that I don't know, I'm kind of in between with I think that with the police department, it should be more of a trying to build trust with the community versus just policing the community type of thing. But those are my only 2 issues. Help the kids out, get them something to do, because in 5-6 years from now, they're going to be grown people. So invest in them.
If you were in change in the media, what would you show? What would you do to change the perception of how people view you and your community? Like, what good parts would you show to show other people that Chicago isn't as how people say it is?
I would show the good stuff. I would show the stuff that happens every day. The person that loses their wallet full of money and credit cards, but somebody actually returns it back to them versus taking the contents out of it. I would show stuff like somebody slipping on ice and people actually helping them up and getting salt to salt where the person was just slipping at, like in a public place. I would show the good stuff. I wouldn't focus on the negativity more so than what's actually positive in and around the community where we live.
How do you see Chicago in the future? Is it good or bad? If it is bad, can it be prevented?
I don't think Chicago is bad. I just think that it starts from the top, but that's like a easy, like a using the politicians and stuff as a scapegoat. I think it starts with the top as far as how the city is reflected upon, but I think it has a lot to do with each individual who wants something out of life. Like if those people continue to come together and do the good and make their communities better, altogether Chicago would be, I guess, less viewed as a negative city or a dangerous city or stuff like that.
All right. Is there anything else you want to share about your experience or what we can do to improve this process or anything?
Well, I have learned working in the correctional aspect of the criminal justice system that we have to not only punish criminals, but when people make simple mistakes, I think that we should be or put them in a position to see why they made that mistake and try to figure out where the problem lied versus put them in jail. Because that's a huge problem. People get out of jail, then because they were in jail for so long or they never graduated from high school, it's like a pattern that's it continues with their children, because the children were raised by other people that wasn't the parents, and now they're doing what their parents were doing and they end up in the system. So I don't know, that's something that needs to be looked at.
All right, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.